we all destined to win.
You gotta keep on living it up. Living.
We'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land. We are in Yugambeh country and we pay respects to our custodian owners and elders past and present and emerging. Welcome to Making Waves, a community show made for creative workers on the Gold Coast. We are at Broadbeach in the community space, sponsored by Placemakers, and we are grateful to be starting this project this year for 2024. I'm Hugo Tinta, co-hosting with Baza and Kat. Today's episode is about hip-hop. As we celebrated 50 years last year, I wanted to introduce something about myself. Being a teen in Sydney and easily influenced as a youngin', I grew up with hip-hop, or shall I say, hip-hop saved me, which led me to writing and dancing and art. But first, Barry, why don't you tell the listeners about Making Waves?
Yeah, Making Waves is our podcast project. And Making Waves is exactly what it is. We're looking at projects and people that are making waves in community. It is more centric to arts workers and creative people. People making a splash, it creating a wave, a bit of a karma effect, and where people are just riding that wave along with that and being inspired and creating their own waves as well. So yeah, that's kind of what I think Making Waves is about.
Yeah, I think it's just really awesome that, you know, the three of us, I guess, are on our own journeys of making our own waves, and just to see that sort of gap maybe where sometimes people like ourselves and the types of people that will be coming on the podcast don't always have the exposure to just talk about you know, what they're doing, where they're going, and what they're achieving. So I think it's a really great platform for that.
You've got a bit of a brief history of hip hop that you
I found something called Epidemic Sound, an article called the Hip Hop, the Heart Soul of Modern Black History. Hip hop is a cultural movement that emerged in South Bronx in New York City during the 1970s, which is our era. If you're a millennial, I don't think you will understand probably, you know, what we're talking about. But if you're a 70s baby, you like this is probably the show for you. So yeah, back in the 1970s, where the elements of hip hop majored in emceeing, rapping, graffiti, breakdancing, and DJing, was also known as like disco rap.
From us growing up in Australia, and this movement was predominantly American, we were heavily influenced by English and American culture when we were growing up. For me, growing up in Newcastle in the late 70s, early 80s, and Newcastle's it's a big town just right outside of Sydney, so you had access to Sydney, but you know, the main influences again were like music, TV with 1 or 2 channels, and movies. So to get this wave of culture come in, it was quite what would you say? It was a big wave that kind of came in for us.
For myself, I mean, I was born in the 70s, so I think definitely it would have been in the 80s. I believe the Breakdance movie, which was released in 83, and then Electric Boogaloo, which was like Breakdance 2 in 84. So yeah, those movies just was like, you know, they have a lot of dancing in it, and they kind of brought together a fusion of dance genres. So it was like street dancing and how they kind of mixed with a girl that did jazz dance in a studio. So I already had a passion for dancing, and so that exposed me to a different way of dancing, and obviously the culture of hip hop. And so it was very, you know, it was an American movie, and it was the whole old school break dancing on the streets where they wear the sort of red and black leather jackets and Adidas gear and stuff like that, and I just thought it was super cool. And then when I got a little bit older, I did see some boys that would dress kind of very similar to that and do breakdancing at like a youth disco that we had. And they used to dance to those songs like Rocksteady Crew, Electric Boogaloo. And yeah, I just always loved it. I didn't really learn to breakdance or anything like that at that time. But so yeah, it was really through the movies and the dancing that went along with the music.
So we grew up in smaller towns. Tina, you grew up in Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
How did you see the movement in Sydney? How was it? Do you think it was different for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was pretty much full on. It was actually life. As a teen, as a child, there was a lot of stuff going on with kids. This is why they call it, like, let's go to Tupac, how he calls it thug life, yeah? The hate you give, that's what thug really means. It's not about being gangsters and stuff. It's the hate you give. Little infants, F's, everyone. The hate you give little kids, just F's, I don't want to swear.
Messes everyone up.
Messes everyone up. So as the kids, like in other words, you get abused from as a child, you grow up being angry and you just don't care about life.
Wow.
And that's how you live. So as a teen, you know, there was a lot of kids that used to get abused in families. And then you grow up as a teen, you don't care. During that time, you're looking for leaders, mentors, and that's when Tupac, Queen Latifah, this is mine, came out.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted leaders that were gonna lead us somewhere. And because he understood the story of the majority of us, how we lived, that's why we followed. So this is when I got into, like, as a teenager, I got into Up to No Good, doing things, stealing cars, all the stuff, getting into trouble by cops. They would always make it that, you know, you can write your way. Like, you know, this is where I say hip hop saved me. It was more of a life before it became a fashion, and then we learned to change that negative, you know, into something positive, which was the music and which was the lyrics and the art. That's how hip hop was for me. But it was fun, you know, it was like, because you're everywhere around Sydney and, you know, you're watching how America's doing it, but really, like, hip hop came to Australia too. So this is how we learned about, you know, celebrating. They were celebrating it back in US. So for the Australians, we were celebrating it here too for the 50 years.
A really interesting take on it, very different to mine. Can we just rewind it back a little bit then? Because we're talking about when it first came out with movies, and that's when it first kind of hit me was, might have been Beat Street, I can't remember
Beat Street was
which,
I think around
which one kind of first came out,
Yeah.
but I remember in
Popping Pete, I think.
Oh, I
was
can't
one of the
remember.
breakers.
Yeah.
Popping Pete.
But I remember going to the movies, to the cinemas, and even before the movie started, there was people, like the lights are on, people were breaking, like
Wow.
all in the aisles, right at the front,
Yeah.
everything.
Nice.
It was crazy. It was so crazy. And then the movie went on, watched it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit before, like, Queen Latifah, Tupac.
Yeah.
Where did you see it? Where did you first see it? Where did you think, oh yeah, that's cool?
Okay, so my family in New Zealand, Auckland, Te Aratū North, my first cousins, they were breakdancing. They got a cardboard, and I went, like, every year I'd go to see my nana, and that's, you know, Electric Boogaloo days, Electric Boogaloo. So that's when I saw it. I saw them doing the bop, and they were popping, and the moonwalk, and then I followed. And so I'd come back, like, it was like getting inspired, and then coming back to Australia and learning it. So that's where I first saw breakdance.
Yeah, I feel like there would be a few people that would be like trying to moonwalk or doing a bit of up rock kind of stuff. But yeah, it was mostly these older boys, because I lived in a small town, 20,000 people. So it was just this one group of boys that really kind of knew their stuff and were like really showing younger kids, how to dance like that. And we'd go to these discos and make up our own little dances and our things to these popular pop songs, but then they would request to put these songs on from the movies. And because I watched the movies, I knew the songs, and so it was really intriguing to me. I was like, I want to dance like these boys, and so I really just admired that.
Fashion.
Adidas.
Yeah.
That's what I remember. Puma.
Yes.
Adidas zip-up jackets.
Bomber jackets with the one in the orange inside.
Definitely heavily influenced that American style culture, fashion, sports, and collar jackets, leather jackets and stuff.
Yeah, I remember my brothers used to wear Adidas shoes and like colour in the stripes and things, but they were also into BMX riding, so I feel like sort of the fashion kind of crossed over a little bit. Surprisingly, with BMX, But that's what we'd see in the music videos. Even when hip hop starts fusing with R&B, a lot of the girls wore the green, red, and yellow, whether they were representing Africa or the Caribbean, Jamaica.
So, what about hip hop in Australia? We're reflecting off that. We're putting our own kind of style into it, and Australian hip hop, especially the music, is quite different.
Yeah.
Because we talk about different things. I guess the fashion we can really relate to. Same with the movements, the breaking, and even the graph. Those styles. But music's very different. We have our own stories. They talk about their stories.
I mean, what about the baggy jean era with the boxes fully hanging out?
Yes.
I feel like Reeboks with the straps.
That would be hard out into the style,
Yeah.
and they'll be wearing like keppers, a baggy, the baggy jeans,
Keppers,
and who was it, Stussy,
Yeah.
colours.
But I think, even some of the Lebanese culture, maybe they were really into it, but then they started wearing the tighter jeans and the bum bags, and they had like a hard attitude style. Ice Baby.
Yes, Vanilla Ice.
Yes, I had one boy out of all the boys at school, and he was really into hip hop, like the Ice, and he would do all the Vanilla Ice moves, and I think he was really inspired by Vanilla Ice, who were white, right?
Yeah.
And so that was like another influence, a newer influence of hip hop, probably before Eminem.
Yes.
Where white boys felt like, hey, I can be part of this too, and they related to it. But he was funny. He would entertain all the girls. Big show off, tall guy. He had his baggy denim jeans, bum bag. I think.
I felt like, especially right at the start, it's just especially when I'm seeing at the movies, everyone's just breaking. At schools, everyone's just doing it or trying to do it.
Yeah.
It just transcended everyone. There was no race or anything like that. Everyone was just doing it and trying.
Yeah.
But then, as it kind of developed, there was a specific kind of, I guess, brand, or I don't know, a signature or something like that. Like, you were trying to emulate like a Black American culture. As it kind of developed and we kind of knew what was going on. But at the start, it's black, white, Chinese. Everyone was just, from an Australian point of view anyway, everyone was kind of doing it. Everyone was doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that even is amazing. And I understand, like, with Vanilla Ice and a white perspective coming in and thinking, we have to be black, but Vanilla Ice broke that because you don't have to be black.
You don't. I think that's why it kind of, it's the culture, and if you're willing to
That's-
respect the culture,
Yeah.
then you're part of it.
I just had the same thought. So
Yeah.
I remember when I had finished my dance college, and so I hadn't really learnt. I mean, I'd learnt a few breakdancing moves along the way that, you know, just learned from people, but I'd never really learnt breaking. And I was working with an Indigenous girl. She was actually part Italian Indigenous, and she was self-taught B-girl. And she was also really into like Janet Jackson style, like she knew all the routines from the Janet Jackson videos. So we were actually working together at a youth dance and theatre company, because she worked with the Indigenous and I worked with the just mainstream group of kids. And then we'd come together, and for her it was so important with hip hop that when she talked about the culture of where it came from, and that it's not just about the dance, it's about everything. And I think that's for the American people, especially the black culture, maybe the only controversy when they see other people adopting it is that they want to make sure you know about it.
Yeah.
So what does the culture mean to you, and how have you adopted it?
From a visual point of view of what I was exposed to, I could see that it extended on the streets. You know, that the dancing wasn't about going into a studio and learning steps, but just being on the streets and letting that influence the movement, and letting the movement be shared with whoever's out there, you know, wanting to just be in that moment and be there, and you know, that there was no sort of rules really in what you could learn and how you learnt it. With music, you know, with people rapping and everything, it's sort of, I guess, I don't know, there's a time, I'm not sure exactly when, that this sort of breaking and then music took on its own highlight. And then it was sort of two separate things, but it's still, I think, the same thing that's come from the streets. It comes from them sitting on the steps on the corner, you know, like just making a beat, doing some beatboxing and then rhyming and letting it flow. And so I just feel like it's very organic, very created by the people and the culture of the environment that they're in.
What does the culture mean to you?
Sometimes it touches the heart and it takes you back to a vulnerable state. And I would usually do it by breakdancing or rapping. I wasn't really good at freestyling, but I was good at writing. So I would make sure, but I'm a good memorizer, and I would memorize my stuff, my style, and then, you know, just flow it out.
Yeah, I definitely lived a more sheltered life than you in that sense. But what strikes me with hip hop and the culture is, it being from the streets, and I guess it sums it up for me in with hip hop movies, right? Which I feel is a really underrated genre, and it doesn't have to be about hip hop, but for me, a hip hop movie is like a movie that's created by independents that they create things with whatever they have. They don't need budgets or anything like that. Whatever they have, they're creative with it. It's very collaborative.
Raw.
It's raw. It's very what's the word? Not inventive, but it's very original, and usually at the end there's a message. And one of my favorite movies, hip hop movies, is "I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker." I don't know if you've ever seen that.
It's called that?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's made in 1988. It's one of the first ones by the Wayans brothers. Damon Wayans, Keenan Ivory Wayans. They directed it, they starred into it, and they had they had athletes in there, so they had like a couple of retired athletes. They had Chris Rock when he was very, very young. They had a few other comedians in there, and it was really low budget because this was one of their, before they even got picked up, even before In Living Colour, this was like one of their first movies. And it was just a raw comedy. If you ever get a chance to see it, go see it.
What was it called again?
I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. Yeah. And they always talk about a message, you know. And also while we're on that movie tip and I'm talking, I want to give another shout out to another hip hop movie that is more recent and I think is underrated, was Uncle Drew, which is more about basketball. That was in 2018. The director was Charles Stone III. He did Paid in Full, which I think is quite similar to the one of the Eric B. and Rakim's tracks. But that was more gangster. But Uncle Drew is a basketball movie. It has athletes in it. And that crossover between hip hop and like sports, athletes and stuff like that. And at the end, it's got a message in there. So I highly encourage you, if you haven't seen Uncle Drew, it's got Kyrie Irving in it, still playing ball today. And a decent soundtrack. Doesn't have a great soundtrack. I'm not really into it as much. But that's another thing about, I feel, with hip hop movies is having a good soundtrack with it. Yeah. And especially those early days.
Yeah, and the Step Up series.
Yeah.
There's 6, I think, in total Step Up movies. The last one, I think they started 2006. The last one was 2018, which was Step Up China. I actually haven't seen that one. It's probably the only one I haven't seen. And then they made Step Up YouTube series in 2018, which has gone through to 2022. So that was a huge franchise. And the soundtracks were big influence on my dance career.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
You Got Served as well, was another one.
Yes.
Breathe in, breathe out. So that, really brought a lot of hip hop artists exposure for their music together with the dancing. Whereas I feel like the breakdance movies, the songs, I feel like everyone kind of knew the songs, but the artists weren't really highlighted. The singers of those songs weren't really highlighted as much.
Tell me about her. Why do you rate her so much?
She's just got a story to tell, and so I picked 3 of the songs, which is that first one, 22 Clan, is like the postcode of Redfern and the city. 22, it's 22 something something. But because I think Mackridge is the name of the male rapper, and like when I saw he must be from the west side because I saw Blacktown, and so he says Blacktown, then they're like switched and they're at the block at Redfern. But yeah, Barker, she's like this Aboriginal girl. She's rapping, she's making moves she came from jail. Did she have a daughter? Then she does a lot of justice stuff and speak for her people, especially the ones that die in jail and have no justice. There was no case, like, they just died in their sleep, like, and so she talks a lot about that. And she's also cultural. That's what I love. Like, she's not just, in Australia, like me, we think we're white, and she goes back to her culture, and she, like, you see her like rapping, blah blah blah. The next minute, she's got the white paint on her face, and she's talking to the kids, talking about her culture and stuff like that. So for my titters means sister in Aboriginal. So I love that song. And the King Brown song, she, like, to me it sounds like she it's like an empowerment for women who get bullied by guys. And yeah, she's like, this is my house. Like, I don't know, she's just like, you can tell by her name, she barks. Go check out Barker. I vote for her for the Australian female rapper.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Go
Nice.
Barker.
Yes.
I'll have to check her out.
Kat, do you have any like Australian? We're talking more like music at the moment.
Australian. Let me just think a minute. I would have to say I haven't had a huge influence of Australian hip hop music, although my daughter was really into it. So she was, who's that guy? He raps and then it goes doof doof and goes into the. He's always at the festivals. What's his name? You would know him, Tina, I'm sure, 100%.
You know what?
Sydney.
You know what? A lot of those artists now, I can't even tell if they're Australian or from other countries.
Oh, really?
It's
Oh.
maybe it's just my ear, but I mean
Yeah.
prior, like there was a distinct Australian kind of hip hop sound,
Yeah.
but now not as much.
What was that
It's
one
weird.
Australian group that was really big in the 90s?
I
That
can't
were
remember.
really good.
You should know. Come on, Tina. No, that's not it.
Okay.
They did a lot of sort of alternative stuff as well.
Like one of the very first one was like Hilltop Hoods. It
Yes,
says,
Hilltop
yeah.
Hoods. Yeah, that's
That kind of
right.
stuff.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Can I sing? No, I didn't know.
Top,
I don't know. I don't know what. Hilltop.
But I tell you what, one.
Bliss and Esso.
See, I've never
Yeah.
heard of them. Sorry.
It's just one I remember.
Sorry.
I'm just
Yeah,
like,
Tell us about it. That's your daughter was into it. You say?
Yeah, I was just really trying to find that guy's name. He's usually a headliner at all the festivals
Okay.
lately.
Yeah.
And she actually works in Sydney now. There's a record company, Biordi. So she actually works not for the Biordi Music, but in the same office space for another business by the owner.
Yeah.
So sometimes she does collaborate with, they do music video shoots and stuff, she'll go along, be involved. But yeah,
Did you want to tell them the
actually, maybe I shouldn't.
okay.
If you're saying no,
Disclaimer.
it is.
Yeah, I might cut that bit out actually, sorry.
Can we talk about, in that kind of style and genre, can we talk about what you're doing with DJ Dizzy, is it?
Jazzy.
Jazzy, sorry.
Yeah.
And that style and
So I mean, I only really stumbled across DJ Jazzy after getting an email late last year. I hadn't really seen anything of her before, so the only stuff I know of her is that she does events where she, DJs, but I feel like it's more of a performance type of thing, so it's usually just beats and it's just a lot of beats and lights and collaborating with fashion, so it's fashion meets music. So I'm not sure that her music's fully like hip hop. I think it's maybe some hip hop beats, a mixture of hip hop and dance music.
So she's not hip hop.
But then she's a dancer as well, and so the dancing that I've seen does look commercial hip hop. But I just haven't heard enough of her DJing.
right.
Because it's only snippets of videos from the shows, and it's just more like kind of an electronic hip hop beat. It probably
Right.
sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when
so-
you first described it to me, I was thinking hip hop style, not just because of the
Yeah,
name,
no, it
but
does-
because of the style.
The
and
style
like-
and the way they dress and stuff,
Yeah.
it does look like your kind of very bright, colourful, commercial style hip hop, like the hip hop dance styles that they do in studios, which is similar to what I do. So I haven't heard any lyrical content with the DJing. I've just heard the electronic kind of, I would say it's a hip hop electronic kind of sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm really excited about seeing what comes out of it,
Yeah.
because I think it's going to be a good, or it already is a good project, and then bring it in.
Yeah, 100%. DJ Jazzy, you can find her on Instagram. But yeah, definitely what she's doing with the young ones, giving them, opportunities. She really likes to work with dancers to do the modelling, and then she has her different looks that she showcases. So it's kind of a bit of a brand for her, I think.
Mm.
She sings as well. I think they are original songs. But like I said, I've only seen sort of snippets of packages from their previous shows. So I think actually being part of the show and having the opportunity for my dancers to perform is going to be a great thing, and actually see how they put it all together. I'm pretty sure it's quite a big team to make it happen.
And you've been with, dance from way back, but your business for 20 years. Have you seen like a progression in what's happening in dance styles?
Yeah, well, when I first moved to the Gold Coast 20 years ago, because like I said, I was self-taught hip-hop. So I had my friend that I spoke of before, Nikki Ashby, shout out. She's in Melbourne now, I believe. And she, was really into like that big girl breaking. We went along and did a few breaking classes together ourselves, trying to learn how to do a windmill really good. It's harder than it looks. The technique of it. But then I sort of started self-teaching, and through the kids I was working with, teaching me moves that they would learn from music videos and all of that. And then I just got really into it and created kind of my own style, studio style hip hop, commercial style hip hop, to the popular girlier hip hop songs. Anyways, so when I first moved to the Gold Coast, there wasn't a lot of dance studios offering hip hop, and if they did, it wasn't what I was doing. It was something that what I perceived and what became a bit of a title of people that were into the more.
It was whack.
Yeah, we called it
and sex.
we called it glorified jazz.
Okay.
So I earlier on got a gig, I think in 2006, for my kids to perform at the Gold Coast show, and we're still doing that today.
Yeah, cool.
So that was one of our biggest exposure, and I let anyone perform. It's like, you come and do classes with Body Beats, you can come and perform, because I believed that everyone should have the opportunity. And then a lot of the times I would see other dance schools there, and they would do a bit of hip hop as well, along with their jazz and everything. But it just was very different to what we were doing. But now, ever since the Step Up movies came out, and So You Think You Can Dance, I feel a lot of studios brought in hip hop, and they would get hip hop dancers that weren't normally part of a studio to come in and choreograph their dance teams, and they got better and better and better with it. And now a lot of these hip hop dance artists actually, are employed by these dance schools. So hip hop now in dance schools, especially big ones, is probably just as big as their jazz and their contemporary now. But yeah, I've just been doing my thing. And I don't really mix with the dance community a whole lot. I just do what I do, it works, and I enjoy it, and try to give kids opportunities.
And you're mainly working with kids, right? Yeah.
No, we do have classes for adults,
Okay.
ladies classes.
Yeah.
So we do a sneakers class, which is kind of a new term that's been adopted
What is it?
for hip hop dancing, and I think it's because hip hop dancing in studios has transformed so much. It's very influenced by other dance styles, Afro, jazz, street jazz. You know, it's. I feel like some people don't feel they have the right to call it a hip hop class, even though you're wearing sneakers and you dress like you're a hip hop dancer. You know, there will be controversy where some people go, that's not hip hop. Kind of like how I felt 20 years ago when I first moved here.
Yeah.
So even now what I'm doing, some other people might be like, that's not real hip hop because it's not like b-boying, b-girling. It's not like breaking. But, or it doesn't have, you know, clear elements of popping, locking, and all of that. So instead it's a fusion of all of that, elements of all of that. You know, then there's the influence of the jazz or the cultural dance. And so I think that's why the term sneakers has been created, because the people teaching it have learnt to do a version of hip hop dancing in their dance courses, but they haven't really maybe lived it like the culture, like, which we were talking about before. So therefore there's this little bit of like, well, have you lived it? Do you really know what it's about? So this term of sneakers, I think, came up about 4 years ago. I first noticed it. And so they can kind of switch between using a real hip hop song and switch between using an R&B song or a more pop song, but they're still in sneakers and it's still got an urban feel to it. Yeah.
That is funny. That is cool though.
Yeah, so that's what I did for my ladies. I thought I'd try it out, and I have gotten more students. So
Cool.
that's the only reason I changed the name for the ladies' classes, because I saw everyone was doing it. Maybe I need to try that. And I think it makes women who don't have experience of hip hop culture, but they're like, I really would like to do that, or I do like some hip hop songs. It makes them feel like I can do this. I just got to put on my sneakers, you know. And this is what it's about, having fun dancing in your sneakers, there is a hip hop influence in there.
Nice.
And that's what I liked, just going on from that, what I liked what you were saying, Tina, about like isn't much stuff. Oh no, sorry. You were exposed to like, I guess, hip hop being used in terms of programs for young people in community centres, right? To keep them off the streets, and they engage in different elements of hip hop. But you're just interested in having those for just people that want to learn, not
Just wanna learn. It's important because there is another generation or another group of people that look at as hip hop as a group of negative people that portray gang violence and always get into trouble. So having people like Kat to represent this side of hip hop, to make it fun, to make it
Accessible.
like recreational for others to be accessible to, then it's a good thing. Tupac said, you live by the gun, you die by the gun, you know what I mean? So that's what people think hip hop is about. Like back in Sydney, when I learned it, I was bringing girls in that were rappers and that followed me, and that's how I started making my own little workshops. Breakdancing, just girls were looking up to me. Hey, let's so we're like a little female crew, and we'd go and there'll be like male boys, and they want to battle and maybe hook up or whatever. But with the idea of trying to give it back to the community, and that's to what you just said.
I think we've lost that a little bit too. That's what I've always tried to do, and to be honest with you, I think I haven't become a huge dance school that's successful in making a whole shitload of money.
But you're making people though.
And sometimes I've questioned it, and I've had chats to my husband and gone, you know, I'm not like big. I didn't grow into this big thing. And he's like, yeah, but think about all the people that had opportunities to dance with you that couldn't afford to go to bigger dance schools. Because I kept the same price pretty much until last year. And put it up a couple of dollars, you know, so it was very affordable for many people that couldn't afford to dance at bigger dance schools. But I do feel, because when I did start out hip hop dancing, I was working at a youth theatre and dance company. So whole of the Sunday we would just work with these kids in acting and dance and movement, and that came more from my contemporary training. And then they were giving me hip hop. You know, when we would give them a creative task, they came back with hip hop moves. And you know, these guys didn't really pay much to do these sessions. It was like a lot of government funded stuff. And I feel like now a lot of kids, to learn hip hop dancing, they got to go to a studio and pay a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a little bit sad in the sense that we don't have this stuff that's still coming a little bit from the streets, or still coming a little bit from groups of people creating and then getting a little bit of attention from someone like myself or a community group that can go, hey, why don't you guys go perform that? And then they like make something out of it. And you know, then maybe sometimes they start dance classes for the community at the community centre. I feel like that used to happen, and it's not really happening.
What about that? We won't mention any names. That organisation in Southport that's supposed to be helping.
Yeah.
That does say.
What do they bring to the wider community to showcase anything that they're doing? Like I do see some cool graffiti art and stuff, but it's like no one really knows anything about what they do. It would be really nice for that to be showcased, so that they can actually feel like they've achieved something and say, I can be up in the stage or the limelight, just like maybe they've dreamt of it, but they've never had that.
Plus, they have a studio there too. They have a studio there, Baza.
Okay.
Go and check it out.
A big space.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
Before we drop names,
We're not going to drop names. Disclaimer.
Later.
Closed.
Hey, when you were talking about graph there, we really kind of left that out.
Yeah.
But I feel like, and I could be completely wrong about this, like many things, but I feel like graph has really ascended to be a lot more acceptable, to the point where there's like very contemporary murals, like massive murals that are appreciated.
Yeah.
And that, I don't think that could have been done without graph being there to start off with.
I see it everywhere.
Yeah. And amazing stuff. Yeah. So a quick shout out to my guy Kane Brungies. Like, if you ever get a chance to see some of his works, really young fella from the South Burnett area, now in Brisbane, I believe, but he's still around there. Kane Brungies, yeah. Amazing artist, so many different styles, and a real artist in the sense that he's working with a lot of different media as well, but his visual art is absolutely incredible.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what, do you know any of the history of how, if he's young and doing all this, how he got these opportunities?
Just through school, I guess, to start off with, and just a lot of people encouraging him to just keep pursuing it and saying it's amazing, and it was amazing right at the start.
You come and do a mural on my thing, or and then people just like, oh.
Yeah, and he was doing some murals back in Mergen, but even like he could paint like little things like on canvas, and he could draw. He just fully multi-talented. And then when he got onto doing like more, I guess, street art on murals or even just on walls and stuff like that, it was it wasn't just going out there and paint. Like, you know, there was like planning behind it and stuff like that as well. You know, so he knew the styles, layering and all those kind of things. So yeah.
Nice.
What are you guys seeing around, eh? What are you guys seeing?
Just everything like at Surface. Is it Churn Park?
Champa.
Yeah, I've seen some nice stuff there. The Mob Boys, the Men of Business Boys.
Yeah.
They like. My son went there and he graduated year 12, but it was funny how like anyway, shout out to Men of Business, Marco Rian. He's the 2023 Australian Gold Coast Award of the Year for building this school for the boys in Southport. So it was nice for my son to go, hey mum, look what I did today. And he sends me a picture of his name, Ocean, in graffiti. And I was like, is that your homework? Because I was really like annoyed with him. You better go make sure you do your school. And he's like, yes, this is what we do. Like, and I thought, wow, like I think Mob has a really good eye of targeting our boys now when it comes to educating, you know, like getting educated and stuff. So, yeah.
Like getting them to really like feel comfortable about maybe looking at careers that maybe don't seem like the boy thing to do. Is it kind of because they do like what it's a place.
It looks like they do everything. there's a song that looks like
Do they learn trades there, or do they pick a trade, or
everything?
Is it just getting exposure to what they could do?
Whatever they want to do. It's like
chef, like being a chef.
Yeah, what do you want to do? So my son wants to be a chef, and they've chucked him into CSI at Southport at the RSL.
Right. So they've connected with businesses
With
to
businesses.
give them like traineeships or just work placement
Yes.
where they can actually have a real job.
And they don't have to force QCE. The year 12.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They don't force
Can
that.
bypass that.
Yeah. If you don't get it, you don't get it.
Yeah.
But at
Something
least
at the end.
they
Yeah,
get connected to.
So they've got so many businesses where they can put people in the workforce.
Yeah, and they got a lot of
Young
sponsors too. Like a lot of rich people have backed them up. They got on, you know, that 24-hour paddle on Sunrise.
Okay.
But they have to do things like they're strong boys, right? That and then they're like doing camps that's got to do with muscle warrior men. I don't know.
They're building men.
They're making them do
Sounds
stuff,
good.
but anyway, like that's the graffiti that I've been seeing in Southport, which I thought was really nice to see that part of community engaging with graffiti art at a school.
Yeah, at a school. Yeah,
At a
that's
school.
Awesome.
At a school, yes.
I just wanted to jump in before I go straight back to you. A thing about tagging. Okay, so
I love it.
you love it.
I loved it.
Yeah, yeah.
I did it on the
Loved it.
train. Loved everything. I loved it. I
Still
tagged
doing it.
everywhere. No.
This is-
And that was hard to get rid of, you know, because it was like put my name there, put my name there, put my name
Addicted.
Yeah.
Addictive.
It's got a really bad stigma because it can be quite rubbish at times, especially from a wider kind of commercial audience, because this one guy's just tagging whatever crap everywhere, and it's, what do they call it? Defacing and that kind of thing. And it's true in that sense, but I see tagging as like there's good tags and there's bad tags, and those that the art of tagging is, one is not to get caught, right? And also
The art of tagging.
and also
Of tagging.
where you put it, like where people just put it like on a bus seat or whatever. Yeah, anyone can do that and not get caught. But then you see some tags that, like, you're looking up and it's been tagged up on a ceiling somewhere or from a pole or something, and you're thinking, how did they do that?
How did they
That
get there?
to me is like the art of
Parkour.
tagging, parkour, ninja style, and that's where
Yeah.
I think that hip hop thing is, like, it's ninja style stuff.
Taking it to
So-
another level.
Exactly, exactly. So for all you haters of taggers out there, that's my 2 cents on it.
Actually, you have to look at the art. Now, if you think that person is an artist, you're allowed to toy it if you want to. But if they are like an artist, because it's the way they tag, so you got to look at their style of writing before you want to be a hater. That's all I can say about that.
True.
Yeah, it's all about style,
It is.
fashion, and movement. You know, but at the end of the day, if you're an outsider and you want to be in, like, you can't just jump in. Like, you got to go through little stages just to be part of the family.
And we're talking about styles, and now where it's very commercial in these days, and we all know that sex sells, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
especially in dance, like, you've seen it a lot. What's happening there?
Well, just the other day, actually, this came up for me just the other day. I was talking to Tina about it, but not just the other day. I see it all the time. So when I'm flicking through Instagram, I'm seeing these highly talented child dancers, like
What
especially
ages
from
are you saying?
Asia.
Child, you're saying what ages?
Like
We're not talking about you.
from sort of like age 8 to 11.
Okay.
You know, very amazing dancers, like they probably dance better than their teacher. And often the teachers are dancing on these videos with them, so sometimes it's one adult teacher and a group of kids, or sometimes it's just one choreographer and the student, and they're like encouraging them, come on, but the music choice is either, you know, of sexual content, or, you know, is a song that has a lot of, how do you say the word? I can never say the word explicit.
Explicit.
Explicit?
Yeah.
Yeah, expletives. Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, it's something I've always tried to be conscious of, because especially we did a lot of events like Gold Coast Show, we had to make sure it was clean. And we did dabble with a few competitions earlier on, like a long time ago, and the same thing, it had to be clean. But now I'm noticing, we just actually went back to competitions last year for my teens, and it seems like it's not a big issue anymore. And on Instagram,
okay.
it seems like it's not a big issue. You got the kids dancing to these songs. They haven't tried to get the clean version. So that's what I used to do. I would try and get the clean version, or I would take sections of the song, you know, and cut out that section and then mix it with that section where it was clean. And so I've always done that for the past 20 years, and now I'm seeing this a lot. But the other day, I went back to teach my kids after the break over the Christmas holidays, and I had this new playlist, and I hadn't yet put my playlist into a kids folder or a teens folder and an adults folder. So I was just flicking through the songs, because some of them I don't know heaps really, really well yet. And I played one song, and the kids just started singing straight away. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is a really cool beat, but they're singing, and I'm like realizing what the lyrics are, and then they've got the actions to go with it. So I'll just read you the lyrics. The song is called Loving on Me by Jack Harlow. If you can play it at any moment in a minute after I read it, would be awesome. I don't like no whips and chains, and you can't tie me down, but you can whip your loving on me, baby, whip your loving on me. Then all the kids started getting really into it on I'm vanilla, baby, I'll choke you, but I ain't no killer, baby. I don't like whips and chains. She's 28 telling me I'm still a baby and you can't tie me down. So as they're singing that I'm vanilla, baby, they're doing the action, grabbing their necks, I'll choke you behind, big smiles on their face. And then I went, yep, I didn't think so, and turned it off, and they were just like staring at me. oh yeah, and I'm like, are you guys allowed to listen to that? Yeah, we hear it on the radio all the time. Like, we sing it in the car. It's like, okay. Yeah, I wondered what you guys think.
I've never heard the song before, but it's very interesting. You're saying that they're dancing, they've got the moves and stuff, but they've got smiles on their faces. It's a little bit of a
Scary.
yeah.
Do you want me to play?
What? Yeah. Do you think at the start I just wrote something there before? Do you think that they, especially with the song choice of these people that are putting it on social media with the choreographers,
Yeah.
do you think it's just for the views that they're doing it, or is it something else?
It seems to me like the choreographers are living through the dancers, and maybe they couldn't get. No, I shouldn't. That sounds really bad. I'm not entirely sure. My questions that have gone through my mind is that having the kids dancing gets more attention for their channel, their page maybe, than just themselves, and they've worked that out, that it gets more views, and because these kids are doing these, they're so clean, so tight, so amazing at this dancing, but for whatever reason they've got to use all the biggest hits in the adult world. I'm not sure why it's not enough with music, with choosing just staying away from those songs. You know, another one is the Doja Cat song. There's a lot of people that differ in whether it's suitable or not. The horn one. Ooh, she's a devil. It's probably not so much a hip hop. I mean, she does fall into the hip hop genre.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm a bad little bitch. I'm a rebel.
Yeah.
And all the kids are doing it.
Yeah.
And I have read through comments, and you will get people saying their kids, why are they dancing to this? This is wrong. And then you'll have choreographers will come back and go, it's just a song. They just love dancing. That's all it's about for them. Then for me as a choreographer who's been doing it probably for longer than some of these new ones on Instagram, I'm like, but isn't dance about expressing yourself? Isn't the movement, or you're either expressing yourself through movement, even not hip hop dance but contemporary and stuff, or with hip hop you're using that song as a channel to then also express yourself through movement, but it relates to the song, and then it's either can be the choreographer has a vision, but still I feel like you should try and relate it to your students, because otherwise are we actually being creative, or are we just dancing for what meaning? I'm not sure. I don't know.
I get you. And I'm two sides of it. Is that it is just that, and the kids are like, they don't know what they're dancing to, so just let them go. And even like in terms of like, if the lyrics were in another language, like you just dance to it, or you just sing to it, you don't know what it is. But the other side of it, definitely, like, it's in a way you got to relate, and you got to be expressive in what you know and what is going on, and I feel like that is.
Otherwise, we're losing the hip hop culture.
In
a sense, but also you're right. You can say the kid doesn't know what they're dancing to, but don't you think that as a kid, being a sponge, that every experience you have, going up to maybe turning like 16, where you might start being curious about sexual things. I feel like, especially with dance, you remember these moments. I danced to this song, and it stays in your head. And then I think comes a point where you're actually questioning what that means, and then they have access to the whole wide internet. I just wonder whether that shapes how they then accept what's right and wrong themselves as an adult going forward, and how they would teach their kids, whether if there's a bigger picture there, and whether society is getting us to a point where parents are not worrying about morals anymore, that there's no boundaries anymore for kids. That's a whole wider topic about boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think our generation, they don't have boundaries. They teach their kids whatever they say.
Mm.
Just putting
I've
that
seen
out.
parents like laughing at their kids doing something that's kind of what we would consider pushing the boundaries for what's acceptable for kids, and they laugh about it and they put it on as a funny thing. Yeah, some things
It's
can
not
be
even funny. It's a
I've
good
seen,
thing.
I've seen a kid like,
So annoying.
you know, not realize what they're doing and they might go like that, or the kid goes, says the F word because they've heard their parents saying it, and yeah, it could be funny at the time, but it's like, well, actually, you keep on going like that, and you are shaping. I feel like your brain does develop from what you're exposed to. So if you're constantly having your dance teacher give you these things to dance to, then eventually you understand what that means. It's like you already know about it, in a way. You've already been in that. You've already been. So it's nothing new to you. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I believe that every experience that they'll go through has some kind of shape or influence on them. And then it's kind of up to community. They always say it takes a community or village to raise a child. It's everyone else's influences and positive influence, going back to what you're saying, thug life, you know. It's not just one incident, but from one person, it should be like everyone's influence throughout their whole journey. You know? And educating, and that's my other point as well. I think if they are exposed to that at that age, then conversation around it, an honest conversation around it is important as well. Not just it's a thing and then you make up some story about it just to kind of, you're not really educating them, you know, you're just saying, do you know what I mean?
I also, look into it from another topic which we probably shouldn't go into, and it's quite unrelated, but is that predatory point of view of watching kids. I don't even know, I don't even want to go there to think of what people might be doing, but obviously it happens.
Yeah.
Right? People already, like, apparently there's a thing about photos, you know, that just literally like rip a kid's head off of something and, you know, create something for those perverted people. And I just feel like there are people out there looking for content.
But that's what I'm thinking, like, is it for the views, you know? It's a bit weird. But I kind of agree as well, like in terms of, why do you need to when there's good beats out there? And
Because the music's popular.
And that's for the views as well
views.
then. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't hate to say it.
And I'm not a choreographer, so I'll speak on in this respect, is that I feel like if you were a choreographer, like a really skilled one, then you would be able to create something great from something that that didn't have to be the most popular music. You know, you'd be able to go, okay, we can do something with this, or we can do something with this, or you know.
Because at the end of the day, I feel like, isn't it the kids dancing we're meant to be looking at? If you're going to put it on social media, isn't that what we're meant to be admiring? Is their skills? It's not, you know, not the artist that they're dancing to, but it seems it's more about the artist's first point, and then the complement of dancing to that as a second point.
What? Sorry, you're gonna say something?
Like if you're a teacher, and like, okay, I'll say me. If I'm a teacher and I'm gonna teach a choreo to the kids, I'm not gonna teach them that. If I want to change the lyrics to make it sound more childlike, I will. But I think we don't have to follow. We don't have to follow and teach Like I wouldn't teach a bunch of 30 kids how to be seducing and try to be like a stripper, you know, where you figure that out when you want to grow up. But for now, I want to teach you how to do some hip hop and, you know, make it look entertaining for
You're not going
the
to be
eyes.
any less of a good dancer because you don't choose that music. Yeah.
So yeah, like that's me as a teacher. And I think I've always been like that when I did hula dancing, even though to other people's eyes, because we wear like coconut bras and a skirt, they thought it was seducing, but I always made my moves and taught the girls that make a story out of my performance, which has always got to do with God and relating to the people. It'll be like a sad story turn into a negative to positive, but it's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there is cultures out there, and the kids are already moving their hips in Africa, or even where, like, from where your parents are from. But I feel like there's a difference between movement of the body, whether it's the hips or the chest or isolating the body, to, you know, beats that are like drums, and it's just like it's a reflection of the sound. We're not talking about lyrics here. It's a reflection of the sound, and sometimes, like hula dancing, you know, they bring in the elements like the water and you know. And I think with a lot of cultures, a lot of the hand motions that they're doing is talking about the elements of the land. You know, there's a connection to why they move like that, and I don't see it as sexual when I see kids doing it.
Yeah.
But you know, there is some child dancers that I've seen dancing to songs where they do the whole drop to their knees wide apart and whip the hair around. And for me growing up, that was a stripper move. It's a stripper move, and like I said, dance styles are fused. Sometimes you do see that kind of movement fused with hip hop for adults.
But that's on the mum though. I reckon the mum, you teach your daughter to be like that. Like you have the authority over your daughter.
Yeah.
If you allow
But
it,
it's like,
then
I feel like you go to a dance school and one kid's doing it, and I've seen this in cheerleading and dance, like one kid's allowed to do it, another kid's allowed to do it, and it's like, then they just go, oh well, it's all about dancing because that's what the choreographer said, so then the parents are like, oh, it's all about the dancing, it's okay, that parent's okay, and then everyone just follows along.
But you're in lead, you're in charge, so you don't have to follow.
No, but this is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And then
But,
let the parents say, just leave your kids.
Yeah, so I always look at every time I see something that it's questionable, I always look at the comments, and there's always like a big variety of people saying this is wrong, amazing dancer, but she should not be moving like that. She should not be dancing to that song.
Is that what the parents said?
No, you've got people making comments just going, yes, this child is an amazing dancer, but those moves, you should not select those types of moves. Can't we just see them move in a way that's not sexual, that's not adult-like? Or the music is not acceptable. And then you'll have people coming back and say, don't be a Karen, and
Oh, is that what you mean? Don't be a Karen.
It's like a debate on
Yeah. To me, it's, now that I've had a bit of a chance to think about it, it really is, to me, it's about the views. Sex sells, and it's easy. And a little bit lazy. That's what I reckon. Yeah, they know it works. It's for exposure, and
But as a rapper, I wouldn't do that.
Even with music, it's a bit lazy as well, because they know that sex sells. I'm going to talk about sex, and it's going to get more views or whatever because of that.
Let's try it.
And same with commercials, you know, like just whether you're selling Pepsi or maybe.
But my son wouldn't let me do that.
Do you
Like
know what I
he always tells me, Mom, why are you wearing those tights? Like I'm going to the gym. Oh, you just want the boys to look at your butt, like, you know. So, you know, when you say that, I'm like, yeah, well maybe I should do that, but I have my son and he's gonna put me on blast and say, don't even walk out there like that, mum. Don't, like, so it's hard for, you know, a person, when you say sex sells, I'm thinking, yeah, but I can't do that. And then like, all right, then fine, I'll try it. Then now I have my son in my head going, don't even think about
There's
it.
one thing though, just to feel good about yourself for yourself.
That's why I like your dancing. That's why I like your dancing, and it makes me feel like a woman. So yeah.
But we're not grinding on the floor.
We're not grinding. Well, my daughter does it with me too, and she's like, "Oh, mum, there's a lot of ass. There's a lot of ass." And then I go, "Well, you should do the sneakers then." I go, "I told you this is sexy moves class," and then she's like, "Oh, but it's too water." Yeah. So like she's grooving, but she didn't do the next one, and I go, "I think this is one that's more like hip hop and." But anyway, wait till next week. But yeah, sorry, bro.
No, that was it.
Did we have the conclusion for the, because that's an actual thing, that's a real thing for you.
Yeah.
What?
The lyrics and what's your choice between?
Oh, well, yeah, like,
gonna
you know
do
what I
it?
mean? I have my ladies class and we can dance to those songs. It's okay. It's about women's
Mm.
empowerment.
No, I'm talking about the
But
kids.
yeah, but
Are
I'm
you
not
gonna-
going to choose.
Oh.
I'm not. I don't go there with the kids. Occasionally, there's a song with a good beat, and maybe it just has a couple of swear words in it, but the rest of the content's more about just whatever.
Oh, okay.
And I'll make my own mix to make it clean.
So you just tell them.
But yeah, there's a lot of songs that I have to say no, sorry.
Yeah,
To the
okay.
kids, they bring up
Yeah.
to me.
And
that's
I
good, that's
was
good
second that
leadership.
with you. I support you
Because
on
at the
that.
end of the day, they're not just learning how to dance. You should be relating somehow to that song. I mean, these kids will sing the whole lyrics, so you don't. Why would you want them singing
Yeah.
words that you don't actually want them saying in a normal conversation? And they will eventually start to say them in a conversation, and they'll giggle. I actually overheard one of my kids say something about 69, and and she was saying it right in front of the parents.
A little
It's like,
kid.
yeah, like, oh yeah, because did you know what it means though? And then whispering, but I could hear it and the parent was right there, and I was surprised the parent didn't pick up on it. Maybe their mind was somewhere else. I was kind of having a light conversation with the parent, and the kids were walking, you know, in their like pairs and stuff. And I'm just like, whoa, did I just hear that? Like, what is going on? And they were giggling, and I kind of wanted to intervene and just say, hey girls, you know, like, what were you talking about, you know, away from the parent, but there wasn't an opportunity.
I think that was another thing I was going to say about girls rapping.
Yep.
How you were saying like sex sells, and that's like, I have seen a lot on YouTube of girls shaking their booty. Yes, of course it comes from the leaders like Cardi B, Nicki, Lil Kim and all that. And I guess it's a trend, like, oh yeah, let's copy them and shake our booty and blah blah
That's
blah.
funny.
It is good. It sells the records, the music, and then there's some that are mad. Have you seen those rappers? Like they'll just say F this,
Oh,
F
yeah,
this,
yeah,
and
sure.
I'm a gangster,
Yeah,
blah
yeah.
blah blah. But then it's like, okay, you know, as we were saying before, we're talking about this is how it was in the 70s. Is it like still going? You know, is it still going, or are you guys just? Is it just acting? Like, to me, I feel like, stop lying. Yeah, there's some girls that are probably on the reels, but some is just like not really, like it's for the show.
Yeah. Commercialism. That's
Yeah.
That's it. And that's the thing as well. Like violence sells as well. You know. So when that first started, and then it kind of just goes over the top because you just need to might be more violent or something to sell your next record or whatever.
And that's
So
what I
it's
see with our
commercial.
Australian hip hop too.
Okay.
Like, what's his name?
Hooligan
Forte.
Hefts is the one I was trying to think of, sorry.
That is my that's my nephew actually.
Oh, really?
Skinny. Hooligan Skinny. That is my, and his brother is named Hooks. But yeah, they're like, their story's full on as well. So I used to hang around with his dad. and that's where that generation started of what I was talking about before.
Yeah.
So when we pass this on to our kids, it gets more deadly
Yeah.
as the years go up, go on. And I think that's why, doing music last year, I think for me, teaching rap workshops, I don't want to be teaching that of what, how we see hip hop to be now, it's ugly. It's not pretty at all. Except for the dancing and graffiti but the words that come out of your mouth, you're just encouraging my son to kill someone. And that's what I've been protecting for the last 17 years, is for my son not to get into the gang life. Because when my son was 4 years old, that's what he would be saying, thug life, and I'd be like, smack. No, you're not gonna do that. You're gonna go, I want a gun now, Mama. Go, you want a gun? Then you better go be a police or go in the army. Which one? Oh, I'll be a police. Yeah, that's what you're gonna do. Because I'm not wasting my time running away from the hood, coming to the Gold Coast to start new, for you to continue to be like that. So I knew that I had mess and I cleaned my mess, but I have a story to tell, is why I'm here. To say what I need to say, but to also protect my son, because if I stayed back at the block down there, he would probably be running now, selling drugs at the age of 15, and that'll be our money. But I'm so glad that the journey took him into, now he's at Hungry Jackson, the RSL, that's the chef. So you know what I'm saying, the difference of what he could have been if I stayed in Sydney, and to what the Gold Coast life. So this is my journey as hip hop, and what I'm going to try to portray.
Started back in 1973, or that they were pioneers in that, in a sense. Should we be then having a responsibility to continue bringing together these elements?
Totally.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying, I think is missing from a lot of the hip hop dancing instrument.
We have to, because this is our era now.
So it's kind of missing, and yes, it doesn't have to be about fighting and poverty and all of that, but it can, and it can also be about positivity. Because you've got people that have lived through this, and now they can teach. I was here, but I'm here, and now my kids are here, and where can we go up?
Maybe I'll ask the question to use as well. What and how you would like to do that?
Just by starting doing this, and then holding workshops, and then bringing people to here.
Okay. Yeah.
And whatever.
Collaborating up, art form and culture.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just us
Cool.
doing it, off the bat every week. We just come and be consistent, and the more we start doing these, the more people will see what we're doing.
Maybe you could ask something like, do you think the elements of hip hop, or what built the foundation of the culture back then, is still prevalent today?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Or do you want to ask that after you've done that thing that you've done there?
Yeah, I can mention that.
Yeah.
So I was just looking up last night. I was just looking up. It was here, the thoughts of the whole hip hop culture. This is also, did you write that, Barry? Thoughts
Yeah.
of hip hop culture with
Oh,
the
no, I didn't
language
write
and. Oh no, that wasn't that. No. What are your thoughts on expanded list of 10 elements of breakdancing, all that?
Yep.
So it was just thoughts of the elements of the culture.
Mhm.
Okay. And I looked up the urban dictionaries and things like that,
Yep.
and it came up. Hip hop music's dictionary uses a variety of slang terms that have changed as hip hop itself has evolved and changed over the years. And it was on that website that they said what I can quote.
Okay. Shall we go from that then? I'll go and say that list of 10 things.
Mm-hmm.
But you start from
Yeah.
where you finish from.
It was about
Maybe the difference between your experience and what you want to give your kids.
Protecting my children
Yeah.
from that life, and bringing them up here to start new. But we were talking about what we show kids, and that's what I've been showing the kids. Like I showed kids not nice stuff when I was at Redford,
Yep.
and it like Ocean absorbed that stuff thinking that was life.
Yep.
So I had to kind of, smack it out of him, saying, no, this is how you're going to do it. We're not doing that. And where we are now, 17 years later, is it's the right path.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So how can we take hip hop from what might have been a negative experience for us, or that we've learnt about it through seeing, rappers that are angry and that all of that, like how can we continue to share our experiences and move forward teaching kids, whether
This is
it's
it.
through music and through dance, without having the negative.
Well, this is why we're doing this podcast, is because we're trying to say, look, this topic's about hip hop, this is how it was, and this is what we want to do about it.
Yeah.
Like,
And let's keep it alive and
yeah,
have fun with it.
Hey, are we recording?
yeah, it's
Oh,
recording.
okay.
Oh,
Sorry.
it is?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we weren't. Okay.
No, we are.
Oh, okay.
It's recording.
Okay. Is this bit part of it or not?
I
Yeah.
thought we
okay.
were preparing for being
Yeah, I thought we were recording. Okay. Oh, well, let's keep
You're
going.
recording.
Okay, you edit, is it?
Yeah. Like that's what I was doing up there, deleting everything. And I was like
Yeah, I
trying
know,
to
I
make
know.
space, and
Okay.
you guys were talking about
Yeah.
something.
So Tina, like your experience with hip hop, you feel it's quite different now to what your kids might experience, and is that really important for you to?
Yeah, I think that's another reason why I did school last year, because I really wanted, I actually started through my kids first, and taught them how to rap and taught them how to dance and the hip hop culture and stuff, and they did it at home, but they lacked the confidence. So then my daughter said, "Oh, why don't you go do it yourself?" So then I did, and I came out last year. And I thought, all right, I'll show you. So when I'm doing this, I'm really showing my kids about the culture and
The story.
yeah, and what I learned and what I was good at when I was their age. And then, dragging them along to the gigs and saying, yeah, sit there and watch mummy now because you don't know. And I want you to know because it's a part of me. It's like when you're, I'm a Cook Islander, and when my parents, they taught me where they come from about doing the hula, and that's what my dad used to do when I was 2 years old, and his brothers was drinking and partying and playing the ukulele, making me, here's $2, do the hula, but I don't know what I'm dancing, but I'm just shaking my hips, so I just can hear the drums and everything going, but look, I learned for the sake of my father, until I learned to love it. And that's what I want to do. I want to teach my kids, yes, I'm a Cook Islander, but this hip hop was the culture I got into, or it was there, at teen. So now, being at that age where we can teach our kids, I don't want them to remember the stuff that I showed them back in Sydney, because that was ugly. I don't want them to think of me like that. Even though my son thinks of me, yeah, you're like that, Mum. You're about that life, and I'm like, yeah. Well, watch this. I have to go get myself educated, and I think that's what we need to do in hip hop. Is we've got to get ourselves educated, because writing lyrics is not about getting up there and spitting bars. You got to have the vocab. If you swear too much, you need to go back to school and get some vocabulary. So I think, as for me to teach the kids, this is we're gonna just do it differently. Like if we've got 10 years of this lifetime, what can we give for the next 10 years to express something positive, like even about any kind of music in general. But to me, I feel hip hop is where they're like, oh, isn't it just a bunch of rapping? That's what they say. And like every one of the teachers said to me, I shouldn't say her name, but I go to her for student support. She's like, what's rap? What's rap?
Story time.
Yeah, and I go, oh, it's just like poetry with a beat. And she's like, oh, like she got it. So I think she must have thought like gangsters straight away. And I think that's what people think, but they don't think like, you know, rap is rhythm and poetry really. It's just, you know, it's flowing. And I think like when I taught rap, the workshop last year, like explaining to them about how to do a rap, I think they were like 2 hours, they got it, wrote 8 lines and just said it straight away. And then they were like, and they'd never done it before. And I thought,
Bringing it to an art form.
Yes.
You know, isn't it? So obviously people back in the day lived on the streets and they actually lived the crime, the hate, all of that. And so that's what their poetry, their rhyme, their rhythm was all a reflection of what they were going through. And similarly with yourself growing up in Sydney. But now it is an art form. So how do we take that and still keep a culture in it, but make it an art form?
yeah, I think we are doing it really.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we talked about culture a lot, and hip hop's like developed and grown and evolved, and now they're saying like there's 10 elements in hip hop: breakdancing, MCing, graffiti art, DJing, beatboxing, street fashion, language, knowledge. What you're talking about, you know, knowledge, education, entrepreneurship, health and well-being.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that? What do you guys think?
Health and well-being is I think something that we're all trying to include into what we do in the art form.
It's very now a now topic as well. Health and well-being in the last X amount of years. But you had a quote, Kat, about the culture as well.
Yeah, I just thought it was really interesting if you take it way back. So I was looking on hip hop's music dictionary, and the website is actually called Dreadpen, www.dreadpen.com, and then / hip hop slang dictionary. And I thought it was interesting. They were talking about, so back in 1973, there was a guy called Olive Campbell, aka DJ Cool, and his sister Cindy would organise back to school parties for mostly high schoolers in the Bronx, and they were bringing together the elements that would form the foundation of an art form and culture and a phenomenon that we know as hip hop. So I think basically they're saying that they were seen as, you know, some of the pioneers in really making it an art form, which is kind of what we're talking about now. Not just about being on the streets. They brought together, they had parties and they shared their dancing, shared their music, and had fun. And that's sort of what we want to be doing with it right now, because, you know, we're not living that sad life or that, you know.
We're not. We're living a life on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, we
Riding the waves.
yeah, we could call ourselves privileged, you know, so we need to, I just thought it was interesting because it just says basically on the occasion of hip hop's 50th anniversary that they set out to capture the trajectory from cultural mashup to source of global influence by highlighting the words essential to hip hop, and that the words have been defined the words that have defined it and that have been defined by it. So obviously, you know, a lot of people are thinking back to what it was, what it has become, but just that simple thing of those house parties and bringing people together and elements together, I think that's one thing that we should be careful that isn't lost. And what you're doing here with the podcast is bringing people together, even just to discuss it. I think is really important.
I think so. I was just thinking about house party. Was it house party?
Yeah, Kid and Play.
Kid and Play. And when you sang that, I was like, oh yeah, house party. That was so cool. Will Smith. When he first, you know, like, here's a little story about. I thought that was cool. I used to wear that colourful. I think that's why I like the bright colours, because he, you know, as a teen, he was there too. And like when you look at him now, look how far he's come. And I think, like, regardless, I don't worry about that thing that he done just not long ago about his wife now.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
Well, it doesn't, like, that didn't change anything for me.
It's who he is now, maybe. But,
It's weird watching, when you watch the journey from when they were kids, you watch all the 10 million movies that they've been in, then where they are, then I'm like, far out, that's like, that must be tiring, you know, like, oh, you did very well, like, you know.
did very well, Will.
Like, coming from there and then up there, and man, you're the man, like, so there's so much, there's so much people that, was this your part? So
No, just for later. But I find it interesting, like, entrepreneurship is in there now. But it's actually quite relevant, because when you're talking about Will Smith, it flagged me as Ice Cube, you know, like from what he was doing with NWA, and then he's doing family movies, and then he's doing like now a B3, which is a basketball franchise. It's his business sense and things like that, and these people get into business. And even what you're doing and what you're doing with your businesses as well, you know, that's really hip hop.
Yeah.
That you're making something out of something.
Yeah.
Out of nothing, yes.
Yeah.
And I think has anyone watched the Nelly series, like the, you know, just raw at home kind of stuff with his family. It's a little bit older now, but I think it's T.I. he's friends with. T.I., I think it's T.I., I might be wrong. But they open like a school for kids to rap. And, you know, learn hip hop, and they go in there and they fund it and stuff. So that was really cool seeing that. What do you got? Ludacris is in the movies.
Yeah, he's doing the
Fast and Furious.
Yeah, Fast
and
and
Furious. Yeah, I just watched the recent ones. Have you watched the recent ones? Yeah, you got Ludacris in that, and he just seems like such a cool guy. Like, you know, not these full gangster, unapproachable rappers.
I don't even think there's any left. When I think about it, I'm like, I think they all died. Like the ones that are still
Had something to say.
So, yeah.
Then Tina, how are you going to contribute, you say, in the next 10 years or something? What elements are you going to bring into play? How's the culture going to be for you?
I just feel that, like, while I'm doing this, I'm going to try to, like, do some workshops and bring all of that, try to get that done here and do some workshops, like not only music but bring in the art as well, and try to, like, maybe just try to say hip hop something, and then pass it out, and then let placemakers know, and invite people, and then see who comes and see what happens, and we could just have a celebration maybe.
how do you think it's going to be hard? There's a hard part going to be finding the people that want to collaborate with all these elements. You know, are there going to be people that are already doing it, or people that just think, "Wow, this is really cool."
Yeah, they're gonna think it's really cool.
Something they've never tried before.
Mm.
That would be cool to actually see.
And there's other people here too, like the Brazilians and other international people that come here.
Yeah.
They be like, "Oh, this is what we do back at home." I think. I'm just guessing for Gold
Yeah.
Coast.
Yeah, maybe with music and dance, it might not necessarily be hip hop, but they're used to collaborating like that for their
yeah.
culture.
It's worth a shot, guys, and I think that's, you know, to keep that in mind. We're not just on a podcast, like, I think we just gotta, like, put everything out, put our feelers out, you know, whatever we can do, just put it out there. Even like networking.
Yeah.
We don't know, like, it doesn't have to be hip hop. There could be some
Oh yeah, for sure.
100%.
country people who want to be hip hop. I don't know.
That's,
Like,
yeah. That's definitely the thing I've noticed when I moved to the Gold Coast that was missing for me, because when I came straight out of 3 years full-time dance, I straight away had people being like, "Hey, you want to be in this freelance project?" You know, and I'd get like small amounts of funding to do fringe festivals and Adelaide festivals. And there was always something happening, you'd meet someone else and then you go into another project and go into another project. And it would be actors and writers and dancers and different types of dance styles. And I missed that, you know, I came to the Gold Coast, I haven't really found that at all. I don't know if I've just been in the wrong spot, but it hasn't really come my way until
Actually,
recently.
no, you're right. I think you are in the right spot, because to me, Southport has the court and the probation, and that's when I knew. I was like, yeah, there's something about this place.
Oh yeah.
So I think everybody comes, and like you got the community centre, so you're in the right spot.
We just need to have the right people to collaborate, like we're starting to do, I think, to actually make something happen there and make people listen and make people want to support it, like businesses might get behind it, you know, I think can definitely take it somewhere.
I think that's why I'm gonna like always, whatever I do is shout out to placemakers, because they're the ones who's supporting this right now, who's giving us the space.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you need, is you need good stakeholders, like who's gonna back you up in your vision.
Yep, such a good opportunity you've had with them.
Actually, yeah, that like just with what, I don't know, I think you just gotta do what you gotta do. Like you just ride your wave, and then another big wave will come in, and then you just gotta ride that wave. Yes, that's right. Like Desi says, ride it. Okay.
Were you looking at me?
Oh, okay.
No, I mean,
I
yeah,
just
no,
wasn't, I
I'm
didn't
thinking
read that.
hip hop for me is definitely a vibe, and the only thing I'm going to contribute is that I'm going to say hip hop a lot more. Like use that as an adjective. So that's really hip hop. Might be a bit corny, but that's what I'm going to do.
Maybe people will start using the word more and actually thinking more about
To the hip, to the heart.
But it was the celebration of 50 years, and we, like in Australia, like you were saying before, we're always behind. But to celebrate, let's run back through some of our favourite kind of music and kind of times. What do you guys got? Old school, new school, underrated songs, albums? What do you guys got?
Who wrote this?
So for me, as a teenager, like I said, as a kid, it was like the breakdance movies. I don't know who the artists were in those songs, but I could still sing them and dance to them today. And then I remember as a teenager, like Run DMC, the Beastie Boys, Cypress Hill even, which is very alternative. And actually I had a choreographer when I was about 19 who did contemporary class to Cypress Hill. It's freaking amazing.
Really?
Yes,
Yeah.
like so good. He had dreads, and I just loved it when we would only have him as a relief now and then. But that was very, very cool. So that was another influence of hip hop when I was really training to be a contemporary dancer. Yeah, and then as an adult, I really got into like the, music I'd see on Rage that had dance. So I'd always be looking for dance content to be inspired by. So I loved Salt and Pepper, TLC, all the girl groups like that.
Love.
Snoop Dogg, Ludacris, Eve, Mary J. Blige, 50
Yes.
Cent, Ja Rule, Busta Rhymes, Fat Joe, Pitbull, Lil Wayne, Fat Man Scoop. So a lot of high energy
Yeah.
kind of stuff. I liked the high energy club banger, or leading to that crossover with R&B artists as well,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Aaliyah and Ashanti.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
there's a lot there, but yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much them.
Who have you got, Tina?
I didn't know anybody.
You don't
Who did I say? I just
One-
said two.
Queen Latifah.
Queen Latifah.
I said Queen Latifah because of her spoken words. What she says, it's just like empowerment. And yeah, Tupac, both of them. Oh, there, I can see LL Cool J. I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved LL Cool J. Ice Cube. Look, I like Notorious as well. And I like Puff Daddy the way he was before, not now.
Yeah.
Just
And
putting it
Dre.
out
Dre.
there.
What about Dre?
Oh yes, Dre, the
Oh,
producer. Oh
goodness.
my gosh. How could we forget him? Yes.
Oh, and I have to mention music producers, Scott Storch,
Yeah.
amazing, and Timbaland.
Yeah.
Yeah. Timbo,
Timbaland.
like still to this day, his beats. And the Scott Storch beats, you can really tell they used it a lot of in the dance movies
Yep.
that came out in the 2000s.
Yeah, and he's still going too. He's on
Yeah,
TikTok.
and he's created a school as well, because I think he lost everything. He had nothing. He had everything. He lost everything, got into drugs, got clean again, and then he's opened up a school where he teaches young people. Yeah. So that's very cool.
But I think whatever she said too is pretty much it. I did love like Run DMC. Did you say Flavor Flav the other day?
Oh,
I did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hype
boy.
Man.
Yes.
Public Enemy.
Yes, Public
You
Enemy
finished?
and NWA.
Lil Bow Wow.
Crisscross. Let's keep
Chris
this
Cross,
name.
make sure.
Jump, jump.
Yes, I still love it. Yeah.
Aussies for me. The Last Connection. Fred Leon.
Oh yeah, the last connection.
Shout out to those guys. Ooh. What else? One of my favourite soundtracks was Above the Rim, so I was more into the sports kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then
Basketball.
and then more, the more I kind of researched about Tupac and Biggie, the more I liked their music. And then of course NWA back then.
You didn't listen to Tupac?
Not really.
Oh,
I thought it was too
I
popular.
got into it more later.
You thought he was too popular?
I thought it was too popular, and I was like, okay, I'll listen to these guys, But yeah, the more I understand their story and that's the more they became interesting.
I think because he was a Gemini, we just automatic.
I would say we can't forget Mr. West.
Who's that?
Kanye
Mr.
West.
Oh, Westy.
One of the big crossover kind of tracks for me was Mary J. Blige's Sweet Thing. The first time I saw that was actually on a skateboarding video, and I thought just the way they played it and the way they shot that kind of clip, it was incredible. It was immediately became a fan.
She had some great magic with P Diddy actually. Puff back then. They had a music video together, and they just were both real good groovers. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love her. She's so cool.
Okay, well that's our trip down memory lane.
That was
Wanna
our
wrap
trip
it up?
down memory lane.
You're gonna wrap.
Come to the end of our Riding Waves session episode number 1 for hip hop. Last week was number 1, number 2, I don't know. But anyway, this is the end of our hip hop episode with Baz and Kat. Yeah, so we'll just see you on the next podcast, okay? That's all. We're just gonna make it short because we talked too much today.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you. Shout out to Desi. Thank
Desi,
you.
thanks
Yeah,
Desi.
Jesse.
Thanks.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would have come out.
You're listening to Making Waves.